Okay, so today we're diving into something that's changing crazy fast, and that's AI in dental education. We've
Okay.
got some really interesting research on this,
Yeah.
and I got to say, I'm really curious to hear your take on this.
It's super fascinating, right? You've got dentistry, which needs like serious hands-on skills.
Uh,
And then you've got AI, which most people think of as like lines of
yeah,
code, you know? So it can really change how we teach those skills.
exactly. It's not like you can learn to use a drill just by talking to a computer program,
Yeah.
right?
Or can you?
Right.
That's what I'm wondering.
And the best part is, the research you sent this global survey of dental educators, it's from May and June 2023. So we're talking about really recent perspectives on this whole thing.
Wow, hot off the presses research.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like a handful of educators, right? This was a lot of people.
No, it was a good group, 428 educators from all over the world. They had a good mix of specialties, different levels of experience. It's a good representation of what dental educators are thinking globally. Okay, so 428 dental educators walk into a survey. What'd they have to say? Were they all on board with AI or what?
Well, it wasn't a total AI is the future kind of vibe, which I actually think makes it more interesting, you know? There's definitely some optimism about what AI could do, but there's also some caution there, you know, a wait and see kind of attitude. And get this, that cautious optimism seems to be different depending on where you are in the world.
Oh, really? A geographic dimension to this. Okay, now you have to tell me more.
Right. So the study found that educators in Africa, Asia, and the Americas, they were more positive about AI in dental education. The ones in Europe, not so much.
Huh. That's really interesting and not what I would have expected. Any ideas why that might be?
It's a great question, and I wish I had a concrete answer for you. The research doesn't really say, unfortunately. But it does make you think, right? One possibility is that those regions, Africa, Asia, the Americas, maybe they're seeing technology change faster in general. So AI in the classroom might feel like just the next step instead of something totally new.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you're already used to things changing all the time, new tech in school might not seem like as big of a deal.
Right, exactly. Whereas in places like Europe, where things in education are more, you know, established, there might be more hesitation.
Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, so even if educators are feeling good about AI, are they picturing it like running the whole show in the classroom? Like AI is taking attendance and everything.
That's where that cautious part comes in. The survey looked at how educators see AI being helpful, and it seems like the excitement is around things like helping students learn the basics, like knowledge acquisition and research, that kind of stuff.
So AI is a study buddy, not Professor AI.
Exactly. Which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, totally.
What's interesting is that only about 40% of the educators thought AI would be good for teaching those hands-on skills, the clinical stuff.
Right, and that's where the whole human touch thing comes in.
Right.
You were saying earlier how dentistry is as much an art as it is like the science.
Exactly. Think about how important mentors are in dentistry, the teamwork in a clinic. Those little conversations between students and teachers every day, watching each other work, even making mistakes and learning from them, that's all important.
And AI can't really do that, at least not yet.
Right, and that's a big worry for a lot of educators. They're worried that if we depend on AI too much, we might actually make it harder for students to have those important human interactions. And those are what make a good dentist, you know, a well-rounded dentist.
So it's not even just about whether we can use AI in dental education, it's about how. We have to do it in a way that helps, that makes things better, not worse.
Yes, exactly. And that means figuring out how to deal with some of the worries and roadblocks people have, because the survey showed that there are a lot of those too.
Okay, so let's talk about those concerns. What are the biggest challenges educators see with AI in their classrooms? Is it just that they're afraid of new technology?
Uh.
Or is there more to it? It's got to be more than just like being scared of computers, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not that simple. It's interesting, actually, the biggest roadblock the survey found, it wasn't about AI itself. It was that educators said they didn't have enough support or training.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Uh-huh.
Like imagine being given this super high-tech tool, but with zero instructions.
Exactly.
Like good luck figuring this out.
Right. And it's more than just like how to turn the thing on, you know? Educators want to know, how do we actually make this part of what we're already doing in the classroom? Are there ethical guidelines for this? What are the limitations?
Yeah, so it's like they're saying, we get it, AI is cool and all, but we need a game plan here.
Exactly, exactly. And then on top of that, there are like bigger picture concerns, you know?
Like what?
Like some educators are questioning if AI can really truly replace a teacher. Or can it accurately assess practical skills? Those are big questions.
Which, yeah, makes total sense. We're talking about dentistry here. It's not just about memorizing stuff for a test.
Exactly. It's got to be more than that. Dentistry, it requires critical thinking. You have to adapt to what you're seeing, make decisions in the moment, sometimes in the middle of a procedure. Those are really hard things to program.
So there's this feeling that some things, some skills, some judgment calls, you can only learn them by actually doing them with other people, seeing what they do.
You got it. And it's not just about can AI grade a multiple choice exam faster or like generate a list of possible diagnoses. It's about can AI understand what it truly takes to be a good dentist, an ethical dentist out there in the real world.
Which takes us to, I think, the really juicy part of all this. The open-ended responses people gave on the survey. That's where we get to hear what educators are really thinking, what they're worried about, what they're excited about.
Oh, I agree. Those were really interesting to read. You could just feel this like mix of excitement, but also some nerves, which I think makes sense.
What were some of the big things that came up?
Well, one that popped up a lot was plagiarism.
Yeah, the good old cheating problem.
Yeah.
But now with AI,
Right, like teachers already have to deal with plagiarism in the internet age, but now there's AI that can write an essay in like 5 seconds. It definitely makes things trickier.
yeah, for sure, it makes you wonder, like, what does original work even mean anymore? You know?
Totally. And then a lot of what people said, it just came down to trust or a lack of it. A lot of educators just aren't sure if they can trust these AI tools yet.
Understandably so.
They're worried about the information being wrong or biased.
Which I get it. This is all still pretty new. It's only natural to be like, okay, but how do we know this is legit?
For sure.
Especially with something as important as education.
Exactly. People want to know who's responsible if the AI screws up. How do I make sure it's teaching my students the right stuff?
So it's not enough to just like throw AI into the mix because it's cool and new. It has to actually make sense. It has to be fair, and it have to actually benefit everyone, the teachers and the students.
I agree 100%. And this all becomes even more important when we start talking about assessment and evaluation, like grades.
Because that's where it gets real, right? So can AI actually grade students fairly? Can it give them accurate feedback?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the survey, it showed this real mix of this could be amazing, but also, whoa, slow down. Most educators, they saw how AI could make grading more efficient, you know? Like imagine AI grading all those big exams, giving teachers more time to do other things.
It's like that classic image of a teacher drowning in paperwork, right?
Exactly.
Maybe AI can help with that.
Yeah, and personalized feedback, that was another big one. Imagine AI that could look at a student's work, say a digital model of, I don't know, a crown prep, and give them really specific feedback like, hey, this part's good, but you could improve this, and then even suggest resources, things like that.
It'd be like having a personal tutor that's available 24/7. But and I feel like there's always a but with this stuff. Can AI really get what makes a good dentist? Like really get it?
Right, that's the heart of the issue, isn't it? We're not just talking about memorizing facts or even just doing a procedure the right way. It's about judgment, ethics, being able to think on your feet when something unexpected happens. Those are really hard things to like measure, even for experienced people.
Let alone an algorithm.
Exactly. And you could feel that tension in the survey responses. People were excited about the possibilities, but also hesitant, especially when it came to those bigger picture things like, can AI really judge clinical skills? Can it tell if someone has good hands? Those are big questions.
Yeah, and let's be real. Those are kind of important in dentistry.
Totally. And most educators, they're not ready to hand those judgments over to AI just yet.
Makes sense. So where do we go from here? What are educators saying we should do about all this?
Well, the good news is it's not like people are saying no way to AI completely. They actually had some really practical ideas.
Oh, good. I was hoping we'd get to some actual solutions.
Yeah, the main things. More training for educators on how to use these AI tools. Clear guidelines on how to use them ethically and effectively. And then figuring out how to really integrate AI into the dental school curriculum in a smart way.
So basically, not just throwing AI at the problem and hoping for the best, but having a real plan.
Exactly. And I think that's key here. We're still early on in this whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Figuring out AI in education.
It's like anything new, there are going to be some bumps in the road.
For sure.
But like you said, it's here to stay.
It is. AI is changing everything, and dentistry won't be any different.
So it's like we can either bury our heads in the sand or we can try to get ahead of it.
Right.
And actually think about what we want the future of dental education to look like.
Totally. And you know what's really interesting? The research, it made me think about something. What if instead of just using like general AI tools, What if we created AI that was specifically designed for dental education?
Whoa, like AI that
Right.
actually understands what it's like to be in dental school.
Exactly. Imagine how helpful that could be. It could give better feedback. It could adapt to different specialties. It could even help us figure out if our current teaching methods have biases.
Wow, that would be huge.
Mhm.
Okay, so for someone listening to all this, what's the big takeaway?
For me, it comes down to this. AI, it's not just about making things easier or faster. It's about preparing these future dentists for a world where AI is everywhere. They'll be using it, learning from it, maybe even competing with it.
Which is kind of a lot to put on dental educators' plates, huh?
You can say that again. They're not just teaching dentistry anymore, they're preparing students for a whole new world.
A world with AI in it.
Yeah, and that's a big responsibility.
It makes you wonder, if the educators are feeling a little unsure about all this, what must it be like to be a student just starting out?
Right?
It's exciting, it's a little scary. That's quite a deep dive.
It really is.
Well, we'll leave our listeners with that to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into AI and dental education. We'll see you next time.